What if you could make money while watching Netflix or maybe playing your favorite video game? It sounds a little fake, right? Wrong. It's just compound interest. Albert Einstein once said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. But what exactly is it? Compound interest is like a money snowball. As the snowball travels further, the bigger it gets. It's similar to something called simple interest, which is, well, simpler. Here's an example of simple interest. Let's say you saved $100 from your Christmas money. If you put it in a savings account with 10% simple interest, the math would look like this. As we can see, after 1 year, we have $110, after 2, $120, 3, $130, and 4, $140. We can also see that the total amount of money earned stays the same at $10 a year. But what about compound interest? Well, with compound interest, the value increases exponentially, meaning that the amount it increases by also increases. Let's take a look. Looking at the new data, we can see that at the end of year 4, we're left with $146.41, as opposed to simple interest, where we have only $140. We also notice that the money earned in compound interest is slowly increasing, as opposed to the money earned in simple interest, which is stagnant. But a $6.41 difference might not seem like a lot. So let's look at another example to prove the true power of compound interest. This is Jim. Jim has $10,000 that he wants to save over a 30-year period using compound interest at values of 1%, 3%, and 5%, all compounded annually. We'll explain what that means later. The chart would look something like this. At 1% compound interest, Jim ends up with $13,478, not that much for 30 years. At 3%, he ends up with $24,272, a noticeable increase. However, at 5% compound interest, he ends up with a whopping $43,219. Compare that to 10% simple interest, he only ends up with $40,000. Compound interest beats it with less work. It's like a financial cheat code. So now that you've seen the true power of compound interest in action, you might be wondering how it works and what exactly gives it an edge over simple interest. Well, compound interest is actually a pretty simple formula, allowing you to calculate how much interest you'll earn on your investments. Here's the breakdown. This is the formula behind compound interest. If math isn't your cup of tea, don't worry. This will be easy to understand. Let's break the formula down. A. This is the future amount. It's how much money you'll end up with. Keep in mind that this is not the profit. P. This is the principal. It's the amount of money that you start with, also known as your initial investment. R is the interest rate. It's the amount that you earn every period from an initial investment, expressed as a percentage. N is the trickiest one. It's the number of compounding periods per year. It's the number of times that the interest is compounded, accumulated, in each period. Common values are annually, n equals 1, quarterly, n equals 4, monthly, n equals 12, and daily, n equals 365. Keep in mind that a higher n number doesn't necessarily mean a massive difference between how much your future amount will be. A higher n number just means that interest is added in smaller chunks, more frequently. Finally, we have T, which is the time. It's the number of periods in years. Now, let's break down the formula. R over N. This part divides the interest rate by the number of compounding periods a year to get the interest rate per compounding period. Add 1 to this value to eventually find the new value of the principal. Keep in mind, if we don't add 1, then we're multiplying the principal by a number smaller than 1, decreasing it. This is the exponential part. We raise the growth factor to the power of n times t, which is the number of periods in total. Finally, we multiply the principal by the growth factor to calculate the total amount. Here's an example. Jim invests $1,000 at an annual interest rate of 5%, compounded monthly for 3 years. So PE is 1,000, R is 5%, N is 12, and T is 3. R over N is 0.05 over 12, which is 1 over 240, which is about 0.004. We add 1 to that, then we multiply N and T to get 36. So finally, we multiply 1,000 by 1.004 to the power of 36. So after 3 years, we can see that Jim's investment grows to $1,161.60. Compound interest is cool and everything, but why does this even matter? Well, compound interest is basically the reward for starting early. If you're under the age of 20, you have something adults wish they had: time. That's your one secret weapon to grow money faster than you think. Let's look at one final example to prove this. Hey, it's Jim again, and this time he has his friend Bob. Jim has $10,000 and he wants to invest it over a 20-year period. Bob, on the other hand, is lazy. He has $20,000, but he waits 10 years and then invests the rest for a total of 10 years. They're both investing at an 8% interest rate compounded annually. So let's see who's going to make more money. This is Jim's balance. He starts out with $10,000 at year 0, gradually increasing over 20 years. Bob, on the other hand, starts at year 10 with $20,000, double the amount Jim started with. Will he make more money in the long run? Let's see. As we can see, Bob's balance doesn't surpass Jim's, even though he started out with double the amount of money. In fact, even if we extend the graph all the way to 50 years after Jim's initial investment, we can see that Bob's balance never ever reaches Jim's, and in fact, the difference keeps getting bigger. This shows that with enough time and patience, you can use compound interest to its fullest potential. Remember, compound interest is useless without the person behind it. So start today, even if it's just $10 or $20 a month. The key is to start now. Your future self will thank you. And just like that, now you know how compound interest works. If you found this video helpful, I would greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe for more easy to understand financial tips. I look forward to posting on this channel in the future. So thanks for watching, and good luck growing your money.